If you're a creative in the big 26, or simply just a human, you're overloaded with noise. Every day when you wake up, you're greeted by 50 notifications that have absolutely nothing to do with you. You have a task list that expands and penetrates the depths of time. You're probably not getting enough sleep because God knows 24 hours in the day isn't enough to do everything you need to do. You're struggling to stay off of social media because every one of us is a stage 10 crack addict at this point that literally can't put the phone down. And on top of all of that noise, you're worried about what other people think of you. And you wonder why you can't get anything done. And you're desperate for some kind of reset. Well, let me introduce you to this video. My name is Tiff and I'm a creative entrepreneur, and on this channel I make video art ranging from mini poetry films to other creative projects. I write, produce, edit, direct them. I literally put my entire heart, soul, and crack into these projects, so I would check them out because I think they're some of the coolest videos on the internet. But with all of that being said, let's begin. Right now I'm in the middle of a creative brain reset. What's crazy is that it doesn't actually take long to start feeling better. So in this video, I'm going to share with you 5 things that I'm doing right now to reset my brain, get my focus back, and actually enjoy my life again. I pinky swear that not all of these things are basic, and most likely you haven't even heard of some of these special techniques. So stick around. Chapter 1. Creating internal validation and killing external noise. So this is going to be random, but if you watch early Lady Gaga interviews, they're actually really fascinating. For one,
Lady Gaga.
But for 2, she touches on the idea of internal fame. So roll the clip, baby.
You have the ability to self-proclaim your own fame. You have the ability to experience and feel a certain amount of self-worth that comes from a very vain place by simply like your choices, your opinions about fashion, your opinions about music, your opinions about politics, the way that you walk down the street, the way that you carry yourself at parties. I mean, you can literally choose to have fame.
There's really an art to fame. I'd go out at night, so I'd be in the studio all day, and then I'd go out at night with my friends, artists in New York City, the Lower East Side, and I realized that, you know, we don't have any money, we're not famous, there's no paparazzi chasing us, but when we walk down the street, people wonder who we are. That's that inner fame. That's that swagger, that inner sense of passion for your music and your art, your style, your knowledge about what you do, that's infectious.
For me, it was going out downtown and realizing that there was a social class, a small one. I'm like, who are these kids? Who the hell do they think they are? But that's exactly it. It's the nerve. I say to myself, who the hell am I to do what I do?
So this was really powerful for me as an artist because I think anyone who wants to create art and share it with the world, you gotta have nerve. And we can't wait for the world to validate us in order to validate ourselves and our own ideas. The moment that we let other people's opinions creep in, our art gets watered down. So on the inside, we gotta know that we're the shit. I'm not telling you to be vain, but more channeling that internal vanity. Because if we don't have that internal vanity, like, 1, we're not going to put out the purest form of our art, and 2, we might not even put our art out to begin with because we don't have that internal confidence. So this is something I've been working on kind of the last several months, but this spring I'm going to be full sending it, baby. So let's be delusional together. Chapter 2. Cutting short form, the biggest noise source. I'm currently 7 days clean from short form content. That's right, baby. No scrolling, no opening the apps just to see what's there. It's been 7 days of not letting the apps use me. Now I use the apps, baby. All right, roll the clip.
The idea of brain rot sounds like a little bit of fun because, you know, it's a little Gen Z term sort of designed to sound a little bit funny and, you know, sound like a little bit of an overreaction. But short form content is actually really bad for you. When you watch short form content and when you scroll on these apps mindlessly, and the key word there is mindlessly, you disengage your neural circuitry. In English, what that means is you stop using your brain. And if you don't believe me, let me ask you a question. Name me 5 Instagram reels or 5 YouTube shorts or 5 TikToks that you remember from your last doom scrolling session. Can you actually think of like even 3 or 4 short form videos that you watched yesterday or the day before? You probably can't. Now, like if I asked you, name me a 3 or 4 movies you've watched in the last month, or name me 3 or 4 TV series, or 3 or 4 long form YouTube videos, or 3 or 4 podcasts, you'd have no problem recalling those. But the problem is because short form content is on average like 10 seconds long or something, you don't give your brain enough time to engage in the stimuli, to remember it and process it before moving on. And so what that means is when you're scrolling through short form content, you're literally scrolling through the void. When you sit and have a doom scrolling session, it's almost as if that didn't happen. On a neurochemical level, on a neuroscientific level, your brain was disengaged and you were basically unconscious. It's like being asleep. And that should terrify you, because when you scroll through short form content, you might think that you're just losing a bit of time or losing a bit of whatever, but you're losing 2 things. You're losing your life, literally, because you're not living when you're scrolling. You're basically unconsciously pulling this slot machine. But on top of that, your brain literally decays.
Once I heard this clip, this is how I now see myself and others when they're scrolling short form. And it really angers me. Angers me enough to where I do not want to doom scroll anymore. This image, like imagining me like this, makes me mad. I think a lot of us are deep in this addiction and we wonder why we can't focus, sit still, why nothing is interesting, why we can't hold a conversation, etc. So now I use my phone as a tool. Who would have thought? If there's something specific I want to look up, I do just that. If I want to catch up with any content creators or friends who create content to, support their shit, I specifically go on to do that. And even after just 7 days, I already notice a difference in my ability to engage in my tasks and also engage in conversation with others. Without a doubt, it's been eliminating the noise. Chapter 3, perfectionism equals noise. So, as a perfectionist, this one hurts.
One of the biggest noise generators that nobody talks about, which is perfectionism disguised as high standards. Now, the US Marine Corps has a planning doctrine that's built around what they call the 70% rule, which basically says that if you have 70% of the information, have done 70% of the analysis, and feel 70% confident in your decision, you just move. You just go and do it. Because waiting for 100% means you'll be too late every single time, and the cost of delay almost always outweighs the cost of a slightly imperfect decision. Now, this applies directly to your work because so much of the disorder in people's systems comes from endlessly refining, researching, double checking, and polishing things that are already good enough to ship. And every hour you spend moving from 80% to 95% is an hour you're not spending on the next high leverage move, which means perfectionism isn't necessarily a quality issue. It's actually a clarity issue, because if you were truly clear on what mattered most, you'd know that speed of execution on the right thing beats perfection on anything. The fastest path to clarity is often to just act, observe, and then adjust and refine rather than think, plan, and wait.
Many of us let the noise of perfectionism slow us down. And I'm talking to myself here. And I'm not encouraging myself or you to put out a bad product, because I definitely think your art should be handled with care. But at a certain point, it's overkill, man. Then we're barely getting anything done. And there's a difference between caring about our work and obsessing over the last 30% that barely anyone will notice. And that extra 30% is what costs us our momentum, and momentum is everything. Chapter 4, sleep, the most ignored fix.
Scientists have discovered a revolutionary new treatment that makes you live longer. It enhances your memory. It makes you more creative. It makes you look more attractive. It makes you slim and lowers your food cravings. It protects you from cancer and dementia. It wards off colds and the flu. It lowers your risk of heart attack, stroke, and not to mention diabetes. You'll feel happier, less depressed, less anxious. Are you interested? The number one thing that actually does all this stuff is sleep.
You can avoid tons of problems in life by doing one thing: going to bed on time. And so instead of setting alarms to wake up, set alarms to go to sleep on time. It's hard to wake up late when you go to bed at 9.
I probably wasn't getting enough sleep for years on a consistent basis. And I think when the big 26 hit, that's when it finally actually caught up to me. Anyways, so now what I've been doing the last 7 days is, even if I go to bed late, I let myself sleep in and actually get those 8 to 10 hours of sleep without guilt. After just 7 days, baby, my brain feels clearer, I can focus longer, conversations are easier, and everything feels smoother. I feel less triggered by things. I do have the flexibility to make my own schedule for the most part, so I can sleep in if I need to. But if you can't do this, I would follow Mr. Hermosi's advice of setting an alarm for bed and not an alarm for the morning. It's such a simple fix, but it removes so much noise from your day. This is me editing right now, but I just wanted to add that for me personally, I thought that I was hacking life by sleeping less, but really the hack is to sleep more and then you get more done, even though you do have less time in the day. Some of you guys might be like, but this has been revolutionary for me. Chapter 5, restructuring your task list. So now, number 5 is something that I've done before during my most productive seasons, and that's restructuring my task list. Now I'll explain. So this is how your typical task list looks. Finish project X, complete project Y, complete project Z. Does that look familiar? So anywhoosies. So I noticed that when I do this, sometimes I won't even get to the task that I set out to do because it's so daunting. Like maybe a few hours go by and I've only knocked 1 or 2 things off my task list. And then by the time I get to number 3, I feel like I can't complete it. So I don't even start it. So here's the magic trick. Instead of writing out your task list as complete X, complete Y, and complete Z, you instead restructure it as make progress on X, make progress on Y, make progress on Z. Because then you can at least just get started. I know that I can cross off make progress on video X, even if I simply just make the project file, put footage on the timeline, and start making tiny edits. And so let me break down just why this is magical. The visible proximity of a finish line is associated with increased motivation, and this is known as the goal gradient effect, which says the closer we are to achieving a goal, the harder we work to reach it. And so if we know that the finish line is something manageable, like just make progress on a certain project, that progress can be small as literally opening up the Word document and making the title and writing the first paragraph. And there you go. You can cross it off the list. And you got started, which is the hardest part. But the opening and closing of that loop is really important for motivation to feel like you're making progress. It'll make you feel good about yourself and make you feel motivated. And those positive feedback loops are really important. The act of crossing something off is more important than you think. As I kind of touched on just a few moments ago, you'll realize that the hardest part of any project is literally just getting started. It's getting that inertia that's difficult. So there you go. Boom. My magic technique to cutting the noise of overwhelm. I'm only on day 7 and I don't have like some crazy life transformation to sell you right now, but I do feel a difference. And I think that's the point. So with all that being said, we don't need to fix our entire lives overnight, but we just need to start by removing the noise. If any of this helped, let me know. And I have 3 big projects in the works right now that are going to be coming up on this channel in the next couple months, and I'm really excited about them. So if you want to stay tuned and you're not subscribed, consider hitting the subscribe button. Okay, bye.